This audiobook reveals the forgotten truth. Your voice is the key to divine creation. As you listen, you will awaken to the sacred power of spoken words, each one a seed shaping your reality. This is the ancient wisdom hidden in silence, now calling you to remember. Speak not to be heard, but to create. The Speech of Power. Introduction. In the twilight chambers of existence, before time took form and memory was born, a sacred knowing lingered, veiled in silence, yet alive in the breath of stars. This ancient wisdom, older than the ages, speaks not in volume, but in vibration. It is the forgotten current, the language of power, the utterance that dreams worlds into being. Long have you walked with this force sleeping inside you, cloaked in the mundane syllables of daily speech. Yet it is not mundane. It never was. For your voice, yes, your voice, is an echo of the first sound, the primal note from which all creation unfurled. Now, as you stand upon the threshold of remembrance, the veils begin to lift. Something deep and eternal stirs. You are not learning, you are reawakening. What you are about to remember is not new. It is carved into the marrow of your soul. When you speak, you weave. When you declare, you summon. You do not speak, you cast. The ancients, those luminous keepers of sacred breath, understood. They guarded this mystery in chants, in mantras, in whispered prayers carried on winds across deserts and mountaintops. They knew the syllables were not mere symbols, but spells. That intention, when fused with voice, becomes law in the unseen realms. You are the vessel of that very force. The universe bends its ear when you speak in truth. Every word is a beacon, every tone a ripple through the unseen fabric of existence. When you speak from the seat of your soul, reality listens, and shifts, and obeys. This is the language before language. It is not taught, it is remembered, not spoken, but released, as light is released from flame. It is the pure resonance of divine will made audible. You are ready. Not because you have studied enough, but because something sacred within you has heard the call. These words find you now because your soul has opened its gates. The time of slumber ends. Let your voice rise, not as echo, but as origin. Speak not as one who hopes, but as one who knows. The speech of power lives in you. Part 1. The Awakening Voice, Discovering the Power of Spoken Creation. Chapter 1. The Word Before Words. In the ancient scrolls of the silent monasteries there lives a tale of Thomas, a monk who discovered the deepest mysteries of creation not through study but through stillness. Within his humble cell, Thomas spent decades in meditation, until one divine morning he experienced something extraordinary. He heard the cosmic symphony of creation itself, the primordial sound that existed before sound took form. Through Thomas's revelation, a sacred truth emerges. Before every manifested word, there exists a divine frequency, a vibration of pure intent. This frequency does not require volume to hold power. It requires alignment. Thomas discovered that the universe responds not to the loudness of our proclamations, but to the depth of our inner attunement. You see, your words are merely the outer garments of an inner force. When you speak without this inner alignment, your words scatter like leaves in the wind. But when you first attune to the soundless realm of pure potential, your simplest utterance carries the weight of universal law. In the village beyond the monastery walls lived Helen, a midwife who had lost her beloved husband. Her home, once filled with joyous dialogue, fell into chaos and discord. Yet Helen discovered something remarkable: the power of aligned silence. She learned to pause before speaking, to feel the vibration of peace within her being, and then to let that peace flow through her words. Helen never raised her voice to restore order to her household. Instead, she spoke from a place of such deep spiritual certainty that her very presence became a sanctuary of calm. Her words, though gentle, carried the authority of inner truth. She had discovered what Thomas knew in his cell: that true power lies not in the volume of speech, but in its alignment with divine frequency. This wisdom beckons to you now. Your words need not thunder to transform reality. They need only align with the silent power of truth within you. Before sound, before speech, there exists a vibration of pure creative force. This is your inheritance, the ability to speak from this place of power. The ancient practice of vibrational alignment. Find a quiet space where you will remain undisturbed. Sit in complete silence for 5 minutes, releasing your grip on thoughts and words. Instead of focusing on mental activity, attune yourself to the vibration of your being, that subtle hum of existence that precedes all speech. Feel this frequency growing stronger as you sit in stillness. Then, from this space of aligned silence, speak aloud one truth that you know to be sacred in your heart. Let this truth emerge not from thought, but from the very core of your being. Notice how different these words feel when they arise from spiritual certainty rather than mental activity. Chapter 2. The Echo of the Divine. In the grand concert hall of existence, there lived a blind violinist named Walter, who understood a truth most eyes fail to see. Each morning, as his bow danced across the strings, he noticed something extraordinary. Every note he sent into the world returned transformed, yet carrying the essence of its origin. The melody would spiral outward, touch the unseen corners of creation, and float back as a new arrangement of itself. Through Walter's gift, you glimpse one of the universe's most sacred laws, the law of echo. Just as his music returned bearing new harmonies, every vibration you release must return in kind. Your voice, that divine instrument you carry, bears not just your signature, but the imprint of the great mind itself. When you speak, you are not merely forming words. You are activating ripples in the cosmic field that must, by universal law, echo back to their source. Many believe their words disappear into the void, lost among countless others. Yet the universe, in its infinite wisdom, recognizes every frequency you emit with perfect precision. When your speech aligns with divine truth, it creates harmonious ripples that return as manifestations matching their original tone. Speak in discord, and discord echoes back. Speak in harmony, and harmony becomes your reality. In a quiet corner of the city library, Clara discovered this truth through an unexpected garden. Among her beloved books, she tended to small potted plants, speaking gentle affirmations over their leaves each morning. "You are strong, you are thriving, you are beautiful," she would whisper, and slowly the plants began to mirror her words, growing with unprecedented vigor. Witnessing this response, Clara began applying the same principle to her own life. She spoke words of health, and her chronic headaches faded. She affirmed loving relationships, and her connections deepened. She declared abundance, and opportunities blossomed. The universe was echoing back the very essence of her aligned speech. Clara's transformation reveals a vital truth. Your words are heard by something far more vast than human ears. The universe listens not just to your vocabulary, but to the vibrational signature beneath your speech. When you speak as though addressing the sacred, your words carry a power that transcends ordinary communication. The ancient practice of sacred echo. Find a quiet space where your voice can resonate freely. With reverence and deep awareness, speak these words 7 times. The universe hears me. Pause between each repetition, allowing the vibration to settle in your body. Notice how your breath naturally aligns with the rhythm of this truth. Feel how each declaration creates a subtle shift in your energy field, as though the very air around you is acknowledging your voice. Chapter 3. The Law Behind the Voice. In the rolling hills beyond the city, there lived a preacher named Elias who spoke with eloquence about prosperity and abundance. His words were polished like river stones, crafted from years of study and practice. Yet despite his masterful rhetoric, his own life remained untouched by the very blessings he described. His congregation would nod in agreement, but neither their lives nor his showed evidence of transformation. For all his eloquent speech, something essential was missing. The truth that Elias eventually discovered lies at the heart of manifestation. Words without aligned vibration are merely empty vessels. You may speak of abundance while your energy resonates with lack. You may declare health while carrying the frequency of illness. The universe responds not to your vocabulary, but to your vibrational signature. When you understand this principle, you begin to grasp why some affirmations yield results, while others float away like leaves on the wind. The law of attraction operates through resonance, like frequencies finding each other across the vastness of existence. Your words must match your inner state, your deep knowing, your energetic truth. In a small workshop at the edge of town, Dorothy, a seamstress, embodied this wisdom without knowing its name. For years, she spoke of money as something that slipped through her fingers, always just out of reach. "There's never enough," she would say, her needle working through fabric as her words worked through the air. But one day, watching how threads came together to create beautiful garments, she realized something profound about creation itself. She began speaking differently about money, not as something to chase, but as something flowing naturally toward her. "Money comes to me easily," she would say as she stitched, feeling the truth of it in her bones. "Abundance finds me in expected and unexpected ways." These weren't just words. They were declarations aligned with her deepest knowledge. Gradually, her business transformed. New clients appeared, seemingly from nowhere. Opportunities for higher-paying work emerged. The very fabric of her financial reality began to shift, not because she merely spoke different words, but because her energy had shifted to match them. The ancient practice of aligned declaration. Find a quiet space with a recording device. Center yourself in a state of calm certainty. Now speak 3 I am statements that resonate with your deepest desires. Let these words emerge not from want, but from knowing. Record them with the conviction of one who already possesses what they declare. Play these recordings daily, not as aspirations, but as confirmations of what is already true in the unseen realm. Listen until these declarations feel as natural as stating your own name. Chapter 4. The Spell of Speaking. In the realm of ancient wisdom, there exists a truth so potent that its very utterance can alter the fabric of reality. This truth unfolds through the tale of Jed, who traversed the dusty roads between towns, carrying his wares and his words like twin burdens. Each dawn, as the sun painted the sky in hues of promise, Jed would arise and speak his misfortune into being. "Another wretched day ahead," he would mutter, unknowingly weaving the very tapestry of struggle he sought to escape. You see, every word that passes your lips is an incantation, whether conscious or unconscious. The universe makes no distinction between casual complaint and formal decree. It simply responds to the vibration you cast forth. Jed's morning ritual of cursing his fate was, in truth, a daily spell of limitation. The power of the spoken word extends far beyond mere communication. It is the bridge between thought and manifestation, between potential and reality. When you speak, you are not merely expressing, you are creating. This is the forgotten art of conscious speech, known to the mystery schools of old. In a classroom bathed in morning light, Frances discovered this truth through different means. Where Jed cast shadows, she learned to weave light. Each morning, as her students filed into the room, she would silently speak blessings over them. "May wisdom find you today. May understanding open like a flower in your mind." At first she noticed subtle shifts, a usually restless child finding moments of focus, a struggling student suddenly grasping a difficult concept. As the days passed, these small changes grew into unmistakable transformations. The classroom atmosphere shifted from chaos to harmony. Students who once clashed began to cooperate. Those who had struggled began to thrive. Frances had not changed her teaching methods. She had simply altered the invisible architecture of her classroom through conscious speech. This is not mere coincidence or positive thinking. It is the operation of an eternal law. Words spoken with intention and alignment create ripples in the field of infinite possibility. Every blessing you utter is a seed planted in fertile cosmic soil. Every curse is equally potent, though it yields bitter fruit. You hold this power in every moment, with every word. The ancient masters knew this. They spoke with careful precision, understanding that each utterance was a spell cast into the universe. Their words were not casual. They were conscious acts of creation. The ancient practice of morning blessing. As the first light touches the horizon, before the world's noise enters your consciousness, speak these words 3 times. May peace rise before me. Let each repetition carry the weight of genuine intention. Feel the vibration of these words in your body, knowing they are more than sounds. They are seeds of manifestation being planted in the fertile soil of dawn. Chapter 5. The Inner Speech That Creates Worlds. In a small workshop filled with the gentle ticking of timepieces, Calvin crafted beautiful clocks while maintaining an impeccable facade of kindness. His customers praised his gentle manner and thoughtful words. Yet beneath this carefully maintained exterior, a storm raged. "You'll never amount to anything," his inner voice would whisper as he worked. "Your creations are mediocre at best." While his tongue spoke encouragement to others, his internal dialogue wove a darker spell. You must understand that the most potent magic occurs not in the words you share with the world, but in the sacred chamber of your inner speech. It is here, in the quiet sanctuary of your mind, where reality takes its first breath. Your external voice may paint the walls of your life, but your internal voice builds its foundation. The universe responds not to the poetry of your public declarations, but to the raw truth of your private thoughts. Calvin's story mirrors your own journey. For how often do you speak sweetness to others while feeding yourself bitter herbs of doubt? In the bustling halls of a city hospital, Mabel discovered this truth through her own suffering. Each day, she tended to others with gentle words and healing touch, while inside, her thoughts churned with resentment over chronic pain that plagued her body. This pain will never leave, she would think, even as she smiled and comforted her patients. Then one night, after a particularly difficult shift, Mabel stumbled upon an ancient understanding. Instead of cursing her discomfort, she began to whisper internal thanks to her body for its service. "Thank you for carrying me through another day," she would think. "I honor your strength and resilience." Gradually, mysteriously, her pain began to soften, like ice yielding to spring sunshine. The body listens to these inner utterances with perfect attention. Every cell vibrates in response to your internal dialogue. What you whisper in the privacy of your mind becomes the blueprint for your physical reality. Mabel's healing wasn't miraculous. It was simply the natural response to a shifted internal frequency. The sacred practice of inner alignment. Find a quiet moment as the day draws to a close. Take your journal and write one full page as though speaking from your future self, the self who has already received all that you now seek. Write in present tense, describing your reality as you wish it to be. I am surrounded by abundance. My body radiates health. Love flows easily into my life. Make this your nightly ritual, reading these words aloud before sleep, allowing them to sink into the fertile soil of your subconscious mind. Let your inner voice align with this new story, for it is here that true transformation begins. Chapter 6. Breaking the Language of Lack. In the heart of a small market town, Reuben stood behind his grocery counter, shaking his head at a new shipment of premium fruits. "We can't afford to stock these," he muttered, marking them for return. Each day these words passed his lips like a familiar prayer. Can't afford. Too expensive. Not in our budget. Though he spoke from practical concerns, his words wove an invisible net of limitation around his store. You see, the tongue shapes more than sound. It shapes reality itself. When you declare what you cannot afford, you speak not just of present circumstances, but command future possibilities to conform to that limitation. Your words become the walls of your financial prison, or the wings of your abundance. Each time you utter phrases of lack, you strengthen the vibration of scarcity in your field. Even casual remarks like, "Money doesn't grow on trees," or "I'm broke," are incantations that the universe receives as instructions. These statements may seem harmless, mere reflections of reality, but they are actually architects of limitation. In a modest home across town, Hazel faced her empty bank account with different words on her lips. Though widowed and struggling, she began each morning declaring, "Money flows to me with ease." At first, the words felt false against her circumstances, yet she persisted, speaking abundance even as her bills mounted. "I am a magnet for prosperity," she would say while preparing her simple breakfast. "Abundance finds me in expected and unexpected ways." Within weeks, opportunities began appearing. A forgotten insurance policy, a part-time position perfectly suited to her schedule, an inheritance from a distant relative. The universe responds not to your circumstances, but to your vibrational declaration. When you speak sufficiency despite evidence of lack, you create an energetic template that reality must eventually fill. Your words are not descriptions. They are prescriptions for what will manifest. The ancient practice of abundant speech. For the next 24 hours, become acutely aware of every word you speak about resources, money, and abundance. When you catch yourself saying, "I can't afford," immediately replace it with, "I am choosing to invest elsewhere." Transform, "It's too expensive," into, "This is helping me clarify my priorities." Shift, "Money is tight," to "Money flows to me continuously." Speak each new phrase aloud, even if alone. Notice how your body responds to these adjusted statements. Feel the subtle shift in your solar plexus, the loosening of tension in your shoulders. Track these emotional changes in a small notebook. You are not speaking falsehoods. You are speaking new realities into being. Chapter 7. Tuning the Voice of Belief. In the grand theater of an ancient city, Leon paced backstage, his throat constricting with each passing moment. For years, he had commanded stages with his powerful voice, moving audiences to tears and triumph. Yet on this pivotal evening, as the curtain call approached, his voice abandoned him, not through illness, but through fear. You must understand that your voice carries only the authority you grant it. When Leon stepped onto the stage, his words emerged as whispers, for his inner certainty had crumbled beneath the weight of doubt. The universe responds not to the volume of your declarations, but to the resonance of your belief. Fear and faith cannot occupy the same space within your voice. When you speak from fear, your words scatter like leaves in the wind, carrying no creative power. But when you speak from faith, even a whisper can move mountains. This is the hidden law that governs all manifestation through speech. In a small flower shop across town, June arranged roses while battling her own inner shadows. Each morning, she began speaking the words, "I am worthy," into the mirror, though her reflection seemed to question the truth of it. At first, her voice wavered, uncertain and hollow. Yet she continued day after day, letting the words fall from her lips like seeds into fertile soil. Gradually, something shifted within her voice. The tremor of doubt gave way to quiet conviction. As her belief took root, her words gained substance and power. Customers began remarking on her transformed presence. Opportunities flowered in her path. Her voice had found its truth, and the universe responded in kind. This is the essence of powerful speech, not the words themselves, but the unwavering certainty that flows through them. Your voice becomes a channel for creation only when aligned with deep belief. Even the simplest phrase, when spoken from this place of knowing, carries the force of universal law. The mirror practice of aligned speech. Stand before a mirror in complete solitude. Choose one affirmation that resonates with your deepest desire for transformation. Look directly into your own eyes. the windows to your soul's truth. Speak your chosen words 10 times, allowing each repetition to sink deeper than the last. Watch how your expression changes, how your posture shifts, how your voice gains strength with each declaration. Notice the subtle moment when doubt begins to yield to conviction. This is not mere repetition, it is the deliberate alignment of speech with soul-deep knowing. Chapter 8. The first silence, then the speech. In a small bakery at the edge of town, Etta stood before her ovens in the pre-dawn darkness. Since losing her beloved, she had discovered a truth deeper than words, the power of sacred silence. While others filled their grief with endless chatter, she chose to enter the void between thoughts, where true strength resided. You will find, as Etta did, that the universe speaks most clearly in moments of complete stillness. Each morning, before mixing dough or lighting the ovens, she would stand motionless, allowing silence to fill her completely. From this space of pure receptivity, her actions flowed with natural grace, and her few words carried the weight of wisdom. The creative force that shapes reality does not emerge from endless speech. It rises from the depths of silence, like the sun ascending over still waters. When you speak from noise, from anxiety, from unprocessed emotion, from the need to fill empty space, your words scatter like dust in the wind, carrying no transformative power. In a workshop across the valley, Franklin crafted masterpieces from raw wood, speaking only once each day. His single daily sentence emerged not from social obligation, but from divine timing. This piece wants to become a cradle, he might say, or the grain speaks of hope. Each utterance, born from hours of meditative silence, seemed to ripple through reality itself. Customers reported feeling moved to tears by his brief pronouncements, as if hearing the truth itself speak through a human voice. Franklin's practice reveals an essential law. Words carry power in proportion to the silence from which they emerge. Like a stone dropped into still water, a sentence spoken from genuine stillness creates perfect ripples of manifestation. But words thrown into choppy waters, a mind full of chatter and reactive speech, cannot form clear patterns of creation. You hold this same power within you. Your voice, when preceded by intentional silence, becomes an instrument of the divine. This is not the silence of suppression or fear, but the pregnant pause of potential, the sacred space where wisdom gathers before taking form as sound. The ancient practice of first speech. As the sun rises tomorrow, resist the urge to immediately fill the air with words. Enter instead into 5 minutes of complete silence. Let your breath settle, your mind clear, your being aligned with the vast silence from which all creation springs. Then, let your first sentence of the day rise naturally from this still pool of consciousness. Speak it with full presence, knowing it carries the pure creative force of your aligned intention. This practice, passed down through generations of mystics, aligns your voice with the original silence from which the universe first spoke itself into being. Through it, you learn to speak not from habit or reaction, but from the wellspring of true creative power. Chapter 9. The Ear That Hears the Universe. In the twilight hours between sleeping and waking, Irene heard melodies she had never sung. Not the arias of her past performances, but whispered affirmations that seemed to float from beyond the veil. "You are the voice of love," the dreams would say. Through you, grace flows freely. Each morning, these ethereal messages lingered like dew, transforming her understanding of true power. You see, the universe speaks constantly, not in the thunderous proclamations humans expect, but in gentle whispers that require a receptive heart to hear. Irene's story teaches us that before we can speak with power, we must first learn to listen with our entire being. Her years of training to hear perfect pitch had prepared her for a deeper form of listening, one that transcended mere sound. The creative force flows both ways. It is not enough to speak your desires into the void. You must attune yourself to the subtle responses, the divine guidance that shapes your words into perfect alignment with universal law. When you truly listen, you become aware that every word you speak is actually a response to what the universe has already whispered to your soul. Norman, who kept the town's vehicles running, understood this truth through experience. While working beneath car hoods, he would sometimes feel a gentle nudge, an inexplicable knowing that someone needed specific words of encouragement. "Your struggle isn't permanent," he told a young mother whose car had broken down. Those words, spoken from divine listening rather than human thinking, helped her avoid a desperate decision that day. "Your creativity matters," he said to a discouraged artist whose engine needed repair. That simple phrase, received through spiritual listening, rekindled a passion that later touched thousands. These moments of guidance come not from the mind's endless chatter, but from the soul's deep connection to universal intelligence. When you learn to distinguish between mental noise and divine promptings, your words begin carrying a power that transcends ordinary speech. This is the ancient art of prophetic listening, not to predict the future, but to speak the exact words needed in the present moment. The sacred practice of divine listening. Find a quiet space where you won't be disturbed. Close your eyes and enter into prayer or meditation, allowing your thoughts to settle like leaves falling onto still water. When peace envelops you, ask with sincere heart, "What truth wants to be spoken through me?" Don't grasp for answers or try to construct clever responses. Simply wait, receptive and open, like an empty vessel. Write down the first words that arise, knowing they come not from your limited mind, but from the infinite wisdom that speaks through all things. Chapter 10. Your Voice as a Wand. In a small shop at the edge of town, Betsy threaded her needle with more than silk. Each stitch carried a whispered blessing, each seam a sacred intention. "May this dress bring confidence," she would murmur, her hands steady at the machine. "Let this coat shelter both body and spirit." What began as an intuitive practice soon revealed an ancient truth. Objects hold the vibration of the words spoken over them. Your voice carries creative force that extends beyond the realm of human hearing. When you speak with conscious intention, you weave unseen threads of energy into the fabric of reality. This power, known to the mystics of old, transforms ordinary actions into ceremonies of manifestation. Betsy's customers would return, their eyes bright with wonder. "I can't explain it," they'd say, "but wearing your clothes feels different, like being wrapped in good fortune." They didn't know about her whispered blessings, yet their experiences confirmed the universe's response to intentional speech. Her garments became more than cloth. They were vessels of transmitted grace. The power of blessed speech works through all channels, as Howard discovered at his radio station. Each morning, before the microphone went live, he would close his eyes and speak into the empty studio. May these words serve the highest good of all who hear them. He didn't change his program's content, yet something shifted in the transmission. His audience grew without promotion, drawn by an invisible resonance they could feel but not name. You see, words carry frequencies beyond their dictionary definitions. When you speak with spiritual intention, you activate forces that operate on multiple dimensions. Howard's voice became a bridge between ordinary broadcasting and divine transmission. His listeners felt nourished not just by information, but by the underlying vibration of purposeful speech. This is the forgotten science of verbal alchemy, the art of transforming ordinary moments through conscious declaration. Your words are not mere sounds in space. They are extensions of your spiritual authority. Each time you speak with sacred intention, you participate in the ongoing creation of reality. The sacred practice of blessing. Before undertaking any task, whether preparing a meal, starting your workday, or entering a conversation, pause to speak a single sentence of blessing over it. Let the words rise from your heart's wisdom rather than your mind's planning. Notice how this simple act shifts the energy of what follows. The universe responds not to the length of your blessing, but to its authenticity and conscious intent. Part 2. The Speaking Path. Aligning Voice with Divine Law. Chapter 11. Vibration, First Words. Second. In a dimly lit concert hall, Sylvia ran her fingers across piano strings that gleamed like moonlit water. For 40 years she had tuned instruments to perfection, yet something about this moment awakened a deeper understanding. As she struck a key, the note rang clear, but felt empty, technically correct, yet spiritually vacant. The piano, though perfectly pitched, lacked life force. You too may have noticed how words can sound right yet feel wrong. This is because the universe responds not to your vocabulary, but to your vibrational signature. When you speak of abundance while harboring thoughts of lack, you create a discord that the law of attraction cannot reconcile. Think of your words as music notes and your energy as the instrument itself. Without proper tuning, even the most beautiful melody falls flat. This truth reveals why some affirmations seem to work instantly while others appear powerless. The difference lies not in the words chosen, but in the frequency from which they emerge. Dennis, who cut hair at the corner barber shop, discovered this wisdom through simple observation. Before speaking to each client, he would hum softly to himself, not for the tune, but for the feeling it stirred within him. He noticed that when he spoke from this elevated state, conversations flowed naturally and clients shared openly. Their trust wasn't earned through clever dialogue, but through the authentic resonance of his energy. This mirrors an ancient teaching. Speech is secondary to state. Your words are merely the visible ripples of an invisible current. When you declare, "I am successful," from a vibration of doubt, you send mixed signals into the field of infinite possibility. The universe, being a perfect mirror, reflects back this confusion rather than your stated desire. Consider how a violin string must be tightened to the correct tension before it can produce its intended note. Similarly, your energetic state must be calibrated before your declarations can manifest their full power. This is why masters of manifestation begin their practice not with speaking, but with attunement. The sacred practice of vibrational alignment. Before making any declaration, pause to assess your inner instrument. Feel your body's current state. Is there tension, resistance, fear? Breathe deeply and consciously shift your energy to match the essence of what you wish to create. Only when your whole being vibrates in harmony with your intention should you allow words to form. This is not about waiting for perfect conditions, but about aligning your frequency with your speech. Chapter 12. The Dialogue with the Invisible. In a small telegraph office at the edge of town, Ruth sat before her machine, fingers poised above the brass key. For 20 years, she had transmitted countless messages across invisible waves, never questioning how they reached their destination. One evening, as darkness settled and the office grew quiet, she began tapping out her deepest prayers into the ether. Not to any earthly station, but to the universe itself. You too possess this sacred connection. Each word you speak travels across the cosmic web, reaching far beyond human ears. The universe maintains an eternal vigil, receiving every utterance, every whispered hope, every voiced intention. This is not mere metaphor. It is the foundational architecture of creation itself. When you voice your truth aloud, you initiate a divine dialogue. The universe responds not through telegraph clicks or human speech, but through an intricate language of signs, coincidences, and synchronicities. A bird at your window, a recurring number, a chance encounter. These are the universe's replies to your spoken intentions. Martin, who lived alone in his hillside cottage, understood this mysterious correspondence. Each night, he would stand in his garden and speak his heart's desires to the stars. At first, nothing seemed to change. But then paper notes began appearing on his doorstep, anonymous messages that echoed his spoken wishes. A desire for companionship would be met with an invitation to tea. A prayer for guidance would bring a relevant book recommendation. This is how the universe operates, through subtle orchestration rather than thunderous proclamation. When you speak with intention, you create ripples in the fabric of reality. These ripples return as waves of manifestation, often in forms you least expect but most need. Your voice is not lost in the void. Every declaration sets in motion an invisible mechanism of response. The universe hears not just your words, but the truth beneath them. It answers not just your requests, but the deeper yearning they represent. Think of your spoken words as seeds planted in fertile cosmic soil. Some sprout quickly, others require seasons of growth. But all are received, all are tended, all are answered in divine timing. The key lies not in forcing responses, but in maintaining an open channel through consistent, authentic expression. The ancient practice of divine dialogue. Each morning, as the world awakens, pose one clear question to the universe. Speak it aloud with reverence and expectation. Throughout your day, remain alert to the subtle ways in which answers appear. They may come through unexpected conversations, meaningful coincidences, or sudden insights. Record these responses in a sacred journal, building a testament to this eternal conversation between you and the infinite. Chapter 13. The Sacred Art of Affirmation. In a dimly lit studio, Agnes sat surrounded by crumpled papers, each bearing abandoned jingles for soap and cereal. For 15 years, she had crafted catchy phrases designed to lodge in listeners' minds. Yet now, she understood a deeper truth about repetition's power. You see, the human mind responds not just to what is said, but to what is said again and again with feeling. Each repetition carves a groove in consciousness, much like water shapes stone through persistent flow. This is the hidden science behind mantras, not mere words, but vehicles of transformation. When Agnes began writing personal mantras instead of commercial jingles, she discovered that sacred speech requires three elements: imagery that moves the heart, presence that grounds the body, and emotion that ignites the spirit. Her first mantra, "I am boundless light expanding," carried not just words but a felt sense of radiance. Each morning, she would speak it while visualizing golden light filling her being. This is the art of affirmation, not mechanical repetition, but conscious creation through aligned speech. Your words must paint pictures in the mind's eye while stirring the waters of emotion. When you declare, "I am abundant," see abundance flowing through your life. Feel its reality in your cells. Harold, tending his wheat fields under the morning sun, learned this truth through necessity. When illness cast shadows over his days, he began speaking to his body as he spoke to his crops, with tender attention and unwavering faith. "Health flows through me like a clear stream," he would say, feeling coolness spread through his limbs. Day by day, his body began responding to this new language of wellness. The power lies not in the words alone, but in their marriage with sensation. Empty affirmations bounce off the walls of reality, but when you speak with your whole being, mind, heart, and body unified, the universe cannot help but reshape itself around your declaration. The ancient practice of sacred speech. Select one affirmation that awakens something deep within you. It should feel both true and slightly beyond your current experience. Speak it slowly, 10 times each day for 7 consecutive days. But do not merely repeat. Inhabit each word. Feel its essence flowing through your blood. Let it reshape your inner landscape until speaking and becoming one. This is not about forcing change through will, but about aligning your speech with the highest truth you can imagine. When you speak from this place of aligned power, reality has no choice but to follow. Chapter 14. The Whisper That Moves Mountains. In the quiet corners of life, the greatest transformations often begin. Della, who had spent 40 years commanding classrooms with a strong voice, discovered this truth only after retirement. In the stillness of her garden one morning, she noticed how the flowers responded not to volume, but to presence. You see, the universe operates on vibration, not volume. When your words align perfectly with your inner knowing, even a whisper carries the force of creation. Della began speaking to her neighbors, her family, and even herself with a new softness. Not the hesitant softness of uncertainty, but the gentle power of absolute conviction. This is the paradox of spiritual speech. The more certain you become, the less you need to raise your voice. True power flows not from the throat, but from the soul. When you speak from this depth, others lean in to listen. They feel the weight of truth in your gentle words. Consider how Wayland discovered this principle in his modest workshop. Each morning, before his family stirred, he would walk through their home, whispering blessings into every corner. "Peace dwells here," he would say, barely above a breath. "Love grows stronger in these walls." He didn't shout these truths. He allowed them to seep into the very foundation of his home like morning dew. Within weeks, the atmosphere shifted. Arguments dissolved before reaching full voice. Laughter came more easily. The house itself seemed to hold a different quality of silence, not empty, but full of unspoken blessing. This is the secret of sacred speech. It need not announce itself. Like the force that moves planets in their orbits, the greatest power often moves in silence. Your words, when aligned with universal truth, need no amplification. They carry their own authority. The power of your speech lies not in its volume, but in its resonance with truth. When you whisper from certainty, the universe bends close to listen. It recognizes the frequency of aligned creation, the same frequency that birthed stars and galaxies in the cosmic silence. The ancient practice of whispered power. As you prepare for sleep tonight, choose one sentence that holds deep truth for you. Whisper it 3 times into the darkness, imagining each word dissolving into the fabric of reality like mist seeping into soil. Let your whisper carry the full weight of your conviction. The universe responds not to the strength of your voice, but to the strength of your knowing. Chapter 15. Tongue of fire, heart of gold. In the hills outside a small town lived Marvin, whose voice carried the weight of battles fought and memories that refused to fade. Each morning he would rise before dawn and speak his truth with such force that the birds would scatter from nearby trees. His words, though honest, bore the sharp edges of unhealed wounds. You hold within you both fire and water, the intensity of conviction and the flowing grace of compassion. These forces must unite in your speech for true power to emerge. Marvin discovered this truth one autumn morning when a wandering monk paused at his gate, unruffled by his harsh warnings to leave. "Your voice carries strength," the monk observed, "but strength alone cannot heal." The universe responds not just to the truth in your words, but to the love that carries them. When you speak with both conviction and compassion, you create a frequency that transforms rather than confronts. This is the alchemy of sacred speech, where power meets tenderness. In the quiet streets of the same town, Gloria sat at her sewing machine, stitching garments while wrestling with resentment toward those who had wronged her. Each day she would catch herself speaking bitter words about them under her breath, until she realized these words were binding her more than them. She began a new practice. With each stitch, she would whisper a blessing for her enemies. "May peace find them," she would say, her fingers steady on the fabric. "May light fill their paths." At first, the words felt hollow, but gradually something shifted within her heart. The power of your voice lies not in its ability to wound, but in its capacity to heal. When you speak of others, even those who have caused you pain, with compassion, you release yourself from the bonds of bitterness. Your words become keys that unlock not just their transformation, but your own freedom. Sacred speech must carry both truth and grace. Like a sword tempered in cooling waters, your voice gains strength through gentleness. Let your words burn with conviction, yes, but let them also flow with the healing waters of understanding. The ancient practice of compassionate truth. Choose someone whose actions or presence brings discomfort to your heart. In the silence of this moment, Speak aloud one truth about them that acknowledges their humanity. Let your voice carry both honesty and kindness. Notice how this gentle strength shifts the energy within you, transforming both speaker and spoken word. Chapter 16. Divine Repetition. In the highest tower of an ancient cathedral, Clifford tended to the great bells that marked time for the village below. Each morning he would climb the winding stairs, his footsteps echoing against stone walls worn smooth by centuries of faithful ascent. The bells, he noticed, responded differently to each strike, some notes lingering longer, others fading swiftly into silence. You, like Clifford, are learning the sacred science of repetition. The universe echoes back not just what you speak, but how you speak it, and how often your truth rings out across the chambers of existence. When you strike a bell once, its song soon fades. But when you ring it with consistent rhythm, the vibration builds upon itself, creating waves that reshape reality. The law of echo teaches that your words, when spoken with sacred consistency, create a field of resonance. It is not enough to declare your truth once and expect transformation. The power lies in the patient, reverent repetition, not as mindless routine, but as ritual. In a small house at the edge of town, Nora discovered this truth while caring for her newborn child. Each morning, noon and night, she would lean over the wooden crib and whisper the same blessing. You are loved, you are safe, you are blessed. At first it seemed her words disappeared into the air, but gradually she noticed a change, not just in her child, who grew unusually peaceful, but in the very atmosphere of the room. Her consistent devotion had created a sanctuary of sound. The power of your voice multiplies through sacred repetition. Like drops of water wearing away stone, your consistent declarations reshape the fabric of your reality. But remember, it is not the mechanical repetition that holds power, but the reverent rhythm of your speech. Each utterance must carry the full weight of your belief, your presence, your connection to the divine current that flows through all things. The ancient practice of sacred echo. Select one truth that resonates deeply within your soul. Speak it aloud 3 times daily, as the sun rises, when it reaches its peak, and as it sets. Let each declaration ring with fresh intention, as if speaking it for the first time. For 3 days, maintain this rhythm of reverence. Watch closely as your outer world begins to mirror the frequency of your faithful speech. The universe cannot help but echo what is spoken with such devoted consistency. Chapter 17. The Voice That Chooses Reality. In the soft light of dawn, George would stand before vast landscapes, his camera ready to capture what most eyes missed. Even when storm clouds loomed heavy and dark, his voice rang clear. The light is always present, waiting to break through. Those who traveled with him often questioned his sight, for where they saw shadow, he spoke of illumination. And time after time, his photographs revealed what his words had declared, rays of sunlight piercing through the densest clouds, creating moments of ethereal beauty. You, too, possess this power of declaration. Your words are not merely descriptions of what exists. They are choices that shape what manifests. The universe responds not to what your eyes perceive, but to what your voice proclaims with certainty. When you speak of light in darkness, you command reality to align with your vision. Through the law of attraction, Your declarations become blueprints for manifestation. Each word you utter is a thread in the tapestry of your experience, weaving the reality you choose to inhabit. This is not mere positive thinking. It is the active wielding of creative force through conscious speech. Pearl, who kept house for a wealthy family, understood this truth in her own way. Each morning, as she opened the heavy curtains to greet the day, she would speak these words with quiet conviction. Something good is always arriving. At first, the other servants smiled at her ritual, seeing only the endless tasks ahead. But Pearl's words held power. Small joys began appearing, a letter of gratitude from the family, unexpected afternoons of rest, moments of laughter that lightened their labor. Her declaration had opened a channel through which abundance could flow. Your voice carries this same creative authority. When you speak of the reality you prefer, not as wishful thinking, but as present truth, you activate forces beyond mortal understanding. The universe must respond to your chosen narrative, for it is through your speech that it knows which timeline you have selected. This is the ancient art of timeline selection through sacred speech. You stand at the intersection of infinite possibilities. Your words are the compass that points toward your chosen reality. Speak not of what seems to be, but of what you choose to be. Let your voice ring with the authority of one who knows that reality bends to meet aligned declarations. The ritual of reality selection. As the sun rises tomorrow, find a quiet space where you can speak uninterrupted. Write down one sentence that captures the reality you wish to inhabit, not as a future hope, but as a present truth. Speak this declaration aloud each morning as the first light touches the horizon. Let your voice carry the certainty of one who sees what others have yet to witness. For in speaking your chosen reality, you command it into form. Chapter 18. Naming the good before it comes. In the fertile valleys where wisdom grows as naturally as wheat, there lived a man named Virgil who understood the sacred power of naming. Before his fields bore a single crop, before his soil had felt the touch of a plow, he stood at the edge of his barren land and spoke with unwavering certainty. This is Victory Acres. Those who passed by saw only untamed earth, but Virgil's eyes beheld golden harvests yet unsown. You see, naming is not merely the act of labeling what exists. It is the ancient art of calling forth what shall be. When you name something with spiritual authority, you create a vessel into which the universe must pour its abundance. This is the forgotten magic that shaped worlds before time began. Each time Virgil spoke the name Victory Acres, he strengthened the invisible bridge between present emptiness and future fulfillment. His neighbors whispered that hope had clouded his judgment, but Virgil understood a truth older than their doubt. What you name with conviction must manifest in form. In another town, where art galleries lined cobblestone streets, a woman named Lena painted in her tiny apartment. Though she had yet to sell a single piece, she began introducing herself with quiet certainty. I am an artist of light. She signed her works with this title, spoke it in her prayers, and wrote it in her journal. The universe heard her naming, and reality reshaped itself to match her declaration. Gallery owners began speaking of an emerging artist whose work seemed to capture light itself. Her naming had created a channel through which her destiny could flow. This power of naming flows through your voice as well. The ancients knew that to name something was to claim dominion over it. When you name your future self with spiritual authority, you create a magnetic field that draws that reality closer. This is not imagination. It is the law of creative speech in action. The name you give yourself today becomes the template for tomorrow's manifestation. Speak it not as aspiration, but as recognition of what already exists in the spiritual realm. For in truth, all possibilities already live within you, waiting to be named into being. Sacred practice of naming. In the silence of your heart, allow the highest version of yourself to emerge. Give this self a name that carries the vibration of your fulfilled potential. This is not a title of ego, but a sacred recognition of your divine blueprint. Speak this name whenever you refer to yourself, letting each utterance strengthen your alignment with this truth. For in naming yourself anew, you command old limitations to fall away, revealing the masterpiece that has always lived within. Chapter 19. The Power of the Pause. In the halls of justice, where words shape destinies, Milton sat at his stenographer's desk, fingers poised above the keys. Through years of recording testimony, he discovered a truth as ancient as speech itself. Power dwells in the pause. You might think the most compelling moments in court came from passionate arguments or dramatic revelations. Yet Milton observed that true authority emerged when an attorney stood in complete stillness before delivering their final statement. Those who rushed their words, who filled every moment with sound, often failed to move the jury. But those who embraced the sacred pause, they held the court in the palm of their hand. The universe operates through this same principle. Just as the void preceded creation, silence must precede powerful speech. When you allow yourself to rest in stillness before speaking, you align with the original pattern of manifestation. Your words become containers of light rather than mere sounds in the air. In a grand cathedral across town, Betty guided her choir with this same wisdom. She taught them that music's power lived not just in the notes, but in the spaces between them. Before the final note, she would say, we must create a moment of pure anticipation. That pause became the choir's signature, a breath of silence that made every performance transcendent. Audiences found themselves leaning forward, drawn into that sacred space where sound was about to be born. This is the forgotten key to manifesting through speech. The quality of your silence determines the power of your words. When you rush to fill every moment with sound, you dilute the creative force that wants to move through you. But when you pause, truly pause, you allow divine energy to gather behind your words. The pause is not empty. It is pregnant with potential. It is the moment when the universe leans in to listen. In that stillness, your words gather strength, aligning with the very frequency of creation. This is why ancient priests would stand in silence before pronouncing blessings. They understood that words born from stillness carried the weight of eternity. Sacred practice. Before speaking anything of significance, pause and draw a deep breath. Feel the words forming in your solar plexus, rising through your heart, gathering light as they move toward your throat. Let them rest there in silence until you feel their full power. Then, and only then, release them with deliberate presence. This practice aligns you with the original pattern of creation. silence, gathering, and sacred expression. Your words will carry the authority of one who speaks from the void where all possibilities dwell. Chapter 20. Speaking from the mountain, not the valley. Deep beneath the earth, where shadows reign and hope often dims, Floyd spent 20 years speaking the language of struggle. Each day, as he descended into the mine shaft, his words echoed his circumstances. "Another day in the depths," he would say, "just trying to get by." And so he remained, digging ever deeper into both the earth and his limitations. You see, the universe responds not to your current reality, but to the elevation of your speech. When you speak from the valley, you remain there. But when you speak from the peak, even while your feet still touch the bottom, something miraculous begins to stir. One day, Floyd encountered an old manuscript in his grandfather's attic, speaking of the ancient practice of elevation speech. That night, standing before his mirror, he began speaking as though he already walked in sunlight. "I am rising," he declared. "My path leads upward." Within months, opportunities emerged that lifted him from the mines to management, then to owning shares in the company itself. The key was not that Floyd denied his circumstances, but that he chose to speak from where he was heading rather than where he stood. This is the forgotten art of elevated speech. Your words must rise before your life can follow. Consider Eleanor, who taught in a small classroom but spoke as though she already led a global education movement. "My wisdom touches thousands," she would say each morning, though at the time she faced only 20 students. She wrote her lessons as though addressing the world. She spoke in her empty classroom as though it was filled with future teachers. Within 2 years, her innovative methods caught the attention of education reformers. Her classroom became a model for schools across continents. Her voice, which had been speaking from the future all along, finally found its true audience. This is not pretense. It is prophecy. When you align your speech with your highest vision, you create a bridge between what is and what could be. The universe responds not to your history, but to your trajectory. Speak from the summit and watch as life rises to meet your words. Sacred practice. Find a private space where you can speak freely. For 5 minutes, step fully into the energy of your fulfilled vision. Speak as though everything you've dreamed has already manifested. Let your voice carry the authority of accomplishment, the peace of arrival. Don't analyze or question. Simply speak from that elevated place. Your words will begin carving steps into the mountain of manifestation, creating the very path you'll climb. Part 3. The Embodied Voice, Becoming the Living Word. Chapter 21. You speak, it is done. In a village where metal sang against metal from dawn till dusk, Ralph's forge stood as a testament to silent endurance. Each day his muscles strained against the weight of his work, yet his lips remained sealed in stoic acceptance. You see, he had been taught that strength comes through silent suffering. But this was only half the truth. The ancient wisdom speaks of a deeper truth. Your voice is the bridge between spirit and matter. When you speak with the certainty of knowing, the universe bends to meet your declaration. This is not about asking or hoping. It is about claiming what already exists in the spiritual realm. One morning, as the dawn painted his workshop in golden light, Ralph stood before his anvil and broke his silence. "I am strong," he declared, not as a wish, but as a recognition of truth. The words carried the weight of certainty, and in that moment, something shifted in the fabric of his reality. The iron that once resisted his hammer began to yield with ease. His body, which had grown weary under endless toil, moved with newfound grace. This is the power that awaits when you step into immediate knowledge. The universe responds not to your requests, but to your declarations. When you speak from the present moment, claiming what is already yours in spirit, physical reality must conform. Consider Margaret, who had carried illness in her bones for years. She had whispered countless prayers for healing, always placing it in some distant future. But one morning, she rose from her bed and spoke words that changed everything. I am whole, not I will be, or I hope to be, but I am. She spoke it with the certainty of one who sees beyond physical appearance into spiritual truth. Within days, her body began to mirror her words. The symptoms that had defined her existence began to fade, not because she had found a new cure, but because she had aligned her speech with the truth of her being. This is not a miracle, it is law. When you speak from knowing rather than wanting, you activate the immediate power of creation. Sacred practice. Take 3 desires that burn brightest in your heart. Write them not as wishes but as present realities. Each day speak them aloud with the certainty of one who knows rather than hopes. Say them as though they are already manifest, for in the realm of spirit they already are. Your voice is not asking for these things, it is acknowledging their presence. Let your words carry the weight of knowing, and watch as the physical world aligns with your declaration. Chapter 22. The Voice That Blesses. In a small bakery tucked away on a quiet street, Esther discovered the ancient art of sacred blessing. Each morning, as dawn's first light filtered through her windows, she would stand before her ingredients, the flour, water, yeast, and salt, and speak words of grace over them. You possess this same power of blessing, though perhaps you have forgotten. When you speak with reverence over the simplest elements of your life, you activate a divine alchemy that transforms the ordinary into the extraordinary. May this flour bring sustenance and joy, Esther would say, her voice soft but certain. May this water flow with life. May this yeast rise with perfect timing. May this salt preserve and enhance. She blessed each tool, each surface, each moment of creation. Soon, something shifted in her bakery. Customers began lingering longer, drawn by an invisible force they couldn't explain. There's something different about your bread, they would say, touching their hearts. It feels like home. What they felt was the vibration of blessed intention, woven into every loaf through sacred speech. This truth extends beyond bread and butter. Leonard, who maintained the halls of an old-school building, understood this wisdom. As he moved through empty corridors with his mop and broom, he would speak blessings into the silence. May learning flourish here. May every child who walks these halls discover their gifts. May wisdom flow like water. Year after year, he blessed those halls, not knowing that his words were creating currents of transformation. The school's atmosphere began to shift. Students walked taller, teachers taught with renewed passion, and when the position of principal opened, the board unanimously chose Leonard, for they recognized in him the essence of what the school had become. You see, blessing is not mere words. It is the highest form of creative speech. When you bless, you align yourself with the universe's natural tendency toward harmony and growth. Each blessing is a seed planted in the fertile soil of possibility. Sacred practice. Let this day become your initiation into the art of blessing. As you move through your hours, speak one blessing over each person, object, or situation you encounter. Bless your morning coffee. May this bring clarity and energy. Bless your workspace. May creativity flow here. Bless the stranger who passes. May peace walk with you. Keep a small journal nearby and note how your own energy shifts as you become a channel for blessing. Watch as the world around you begins to respond to this higher vibration of speech. Chapter 23. Living as the Word Made Flesh. In a small workshop filled with patches of colored fabric, Doris sat at her quilting table, understanding at last the sacred art of weaving reality. With each stitch she made, she whispered truths that matched her movements, seeing how her words and actions created the tapestry of her life. You, too, are weaving your reality with every word you speak. Yet the true power lies not in speaking alone, but in becoming the living embodiment of your declarations. Just as a quilt takes shape stitch by stitch, your life forms through the consistent union of speech and action. Doris noticed that when she declared, "I create beauty," while her hands trembled with doubt, her stitches would tangle. But when she became beauty itself, in her movements, her breath, her presence, the quilt would flow from her fingers like a river of light. Her customers began saying they could feel peace emanating from her creations, for she had woven her being into every thread. This wisdom echoes in the tale of Willard, who grew up hearing his father's passionate sermons about love and forgiveness. For years, Willard too tried to change lives through powerful words alone. Then one day, he fell silent. Instead of speaking about compassion, he began living it, helping strangers, listening deeply, forgiving freely. Soon people started following his example, drawn not by his words, but by the truth he had become. Your words are not meant to be hollow declarations floating in the wind. They are seeds seeking soil in your actions, your choices, your very way of being. When you say, "I am abundance," does your life reflect this truth? When you declare, "I am peace," do your actions align with inner stillness? The universe responds not to what you say, but to what you are. It is the frequency of your being that attracts your reality. Your words must become your bones, your breath, your blood. Only then does the law of attraction recognize them as truth. Sacred practice. Take a moment now to examine your daily affirmations. Choose one statement you speak, but have not yet fully embodied. Perhaps you declare abundance while holding tight to every penny, or speak of trust while living in fear. Tomorrow, let your every action align with this chosen truth. If you affirm, "I am confident," walk, speak, and move with complete assurance. If you declare, "I am love," let every interaction overflow with compassion. Document how reality shifts when you become the living proof of your words. Chapter 24. The Sacred Vocabulary of Abundance. In a small laundry at the edge of town, Opal stood folding fresh linens, her hands moving with practiced grace. Each morning she had spoken the same tired words. Just getting by, making ends meet, doing what I can. These phrases hung heavy in the air like wet clothes that wouldn't dry. You see, words carry their own weight, their own frequency. When you speak of getting by, the universe can only return the energy of bare survival. When you declare you're making ends meet, you remain forever in the space of merely meeting ends. One dawn, as steam rose from her copper basins, Opal changed her language. "I overflow with grace," she began declaring as she pressed each garment. "Abundance flows through my hands. My work brings forth beauty." The very air in her laundry seemed to shimmer with new possibilities. Within weeks, her clients doubled. They spoke of how their clothes felt different, lighter, fresher, blessed. What changed was not her soap or technique, but the frequency of her words washing over each item she touched. This truth found echo in Ernie's workshop, where leather and tools lay scattered in organized chaos. For years, when customers requested special orders, his response had been, "I'll try my best." Try, that word of uncertainty, of permission to fall short. But something shifted when he began stating simply, "I will." Not a promise born of ego, but a declaration aligned with divine certainty. The moment Ernie replaced try with will, his hands moved with new sureness. Orders that once seemed daunting became expressions of his mastery. His customers noticed not just in the quality of his shoes, but in the confidence that radiated from his work. Your words are not mere symbols or sounds. They are frequencies that ripple through the quantum field of creation. When you speak of struggle, you attune yourself to that vibration. When you declare flow, you align with ease. This is not about positive thinking. It is about vibrational accuracy. Sacred practice. For the next 7 days, elevate these common phrases. Instead of "I'm trying," say "I am accomplishing." Replace "I hope" with "I know." Transform "I need" to "I welcome." Shift "I should" to "I choose." Convert, if it's possible, to "as it unfolds." Speak these higher frequencies consistently, not as mere affirmations, but as declarations of your new vibrational stance. Watch how the universe responds to your elevated speech. Feel the subtle yet powerful shift as your words ripple through the quantum field, aligning you with the frequencies of manifestation. Each time you voice these elevated expressions, you are not simply speaking. You are commanding the very fabric of creation to bend toward your conscious intention. The universe, ever attentive to your vibrational offering, will begin orchestrating circumstances that match your newly calibrated frequency. Chapter 25. Conversing with the Future. In a small room filled with patterns and threads, Miriam sat at her sewing table each morning, penning letters to herself, not to the self who struggled with daily demands, but to the radiant being she knew herself to become. "My dearest present self," she would write, speaking to the version of her that still doubted, still feared. You see, time is not the linear path many believe it to be. Your future self exists now, in a dimension of completion and wisdom. When you speak to this self, you create a bridge across time, allowing tomorrow's wisdom to flow into today's choices. Each evening, Miriam would sit in sacred stillness and read aloud the replies she sensed from her future self. "You are exactly where you need to be," she would speak into the quiet room. "The thread you hold today weaves the tapestry of tomorrow." As she voiced these messages, her hands grew steadier, her stitches more precise, her designs more inspired. This truth manifested differently for Delbert, who steered his taxi through city streets while telling every passenger about the fleet of cars he would one day oversee. "Soon," he would say, "these streets will know my company's name." He spoke not from wishful thinking, but from a place of knowing, as though reading from a script already written in the fabric of time. What Delbert didn't realize was that each time he spoke of his future company, he was tuning his frequency to match that reality. His words were not predictions but alignments, each syllable drawing that future closer until, within 12 months, his first fleet of cars bore the very name he had spoken so many times before. Your voice holds this same power. When you speak to your future self, you are not imagining. You are communing with a version of you that already exists in the infinite field of possibility. And when you voice the wisdom of that self back into your present moment, you collapse time, bringing tomorrow's achievements into today's experience. Sacred practice. As the sun rises each morning, enter a space of quiet receptivity. Find a sacred corner where you can be alone with your thoughts, where the veil between present and future grows thin. Allow your future self, the one who has already walked through your current challenges, who has already manifested your deepest desires, to speak through you. This version of you stands accomplished and whole, having transcended the very obstacles you now face. Voice aloud the one message this wise self would share with you today. Let these words of power flow naturally, without judgment or hesitation, for they emerge from the depths of your highest knowing. Let these words guide your actions, knowing they come from a place of completion and truth. Trust in this daily communion, for it builds a bridge between who you are and who you are becoming. Chapter 26. The Authority of the Spoken I Am. In the fading light of a Hollywood dressing room, Eunice stood before her mirror, her eyes meeting the reflection that had witnessed decades of roles played and lives imagined. Yet now, in her advancing years, she discovered the most powerful role of all, herself. Each morning, as the first rays of sun filtered through her window, she would stand tall and declare with unwavering certainty, "I am radiant." The power of these words lies not in their sound, but in their source. When you speak "I am," you echo the original creative force that shaped worlds from void. These two simple words carry the signature of the divine. They are not mere affirmation, but divine declaration. For Eunice, this daily practice became more than ritual. It became reality. Producers who had forgotten her name began to call. Roles she thought beyond her reach found their way to her door. Her very presence seemed to illuminate rooms, not because she had changed outwardly, but because she had aligned with an eternal truth. Radiance is not a temporary state, but her essential nature. This same power transformed Raymond, who polished shoes on busy street corners. Each dawn before the city stirred, he would pause before any reflective surface, store windows, puddles, or mirrors, and speak with quiet authority. "I am royalty." He did not whisper these words like a secret wish. but proclaimed them as one who knows their birthright. The universe responds not to volume, but to vibration. When you declare "I am," you activate the creative principle that shapes reality itself. Raymond's customers began to sense something regal in his bearing, though they couldn't name it. His simple shoe-shining station became known as the place where business people received not just service, but dignity. Within years, his empire of premium shoe care services spread across the city, built not on marketing, but on the foundation of his morning declarations. You too hold this power. The words, "I am," form the bridge between human speech and divine command. When you say "I am," the universe listens not to what follows, but to the authority with which you speak. This is why empty affirmations fall flat. They lack the royal tone of one who knows their divine heritage. Sacred practice. Stand in a quiet space where you can walk slowly and deliberately. Write 5 "I am" statements that express your highest truth, not who you wish to be, but who you are in the eternal now. As you walk, speak each statement with the authority of one who commands reality itself. Let each step ground these truths deeper into your being. Your words are not hopes for the future. They are laws being written into the present moment. Chapter 27. Sound as Ceremony. In a small cottage filled with dried herbs and ancient wisdom, Viola understood what generations of healers had known. Intention transforms matter. As she stirred her healing tonics, she began each preparation with a sacred chant of gratitude. I thank the earth for these gifts of healing. Through my hands flows divine restoration. You see, the power of ritualized speech lies not in complexity but in sacred rhythm. When you infuse your words with ceremonial intent, even the simplest tasks become channels for divine energy. Viola's tonics, once merely effective, began producing results that defied explanation. Clients reported not just physical healing, but spiritual awakening. Her words had altered the very vibration of the herbs she worked with. This ancient truth reveals itself. Sound carries creative force. When you speak with ceremonial intent, you tap into the original rhythm that shaped existence. Your voice becomes an instrument of transformation, capable of sanctifying every moment, every action. Consider Harvey, whose auto repair shop sat at the edge of town. He discovered that humming affirmations while working on engines created a field of harmonious energy, as his tools moved in rhythm with his voice. Perfect clients flow to me with ease. Something shifted in the fabric of his business. Soon his garage attracted exactly the type of customers he had been affirming, those who valued quality, respected his craft, and paid promptly. The universe responds to ritualized voices because it recognizes the pattern of creation within it. When you speak with ceremonial intent, you align with the cosmic rhythm that orchestrates reality. Your words become more than sound. They become sacred instruction to the field of infinite possibility. This power lies dormant within you, waiting to be awakened through daily practice. The ancients knew that regular ritual anchors spiritual power into physical reality. Your voice, when used with sacred intent, becomes a bridge between worlds. Sacred practice. Choose a specific time each day for your vocal ritual. This might be sunrise, when the world awakens to new possibilities, noon, when the sun's power reaches its peak, or the sacred hours before sleep, when the veil between worlds grows thin. Create a simple chant, mantra, or spoken blessing that resonates with your deepest truth. and innermost desires. It need not be complex. Power lies in consistency and intent, not elaboration. The ancients understood that the simplest phrases, spoken with unwavering conviction, could move mountains. Perform this vocal ceremony at your chosen time daily, allowing your voice to become a living channel for divine energy. Feel the vibration of each word as it leaves your lips, knowing that you speak not just to the physical realm, but to the very essence of creation itself. Notice how this regular practice begins to alter the fabric of your reality, creating a sacred rhythm that attracts aligned experiences and manifestations. As you maintain this discipline, you will find the universe responding with increasing clarity to your ceremonial voice. Chapter 28. The Frequency of Truth. In the depths of night, Lucille sat at her kitchen table, her stenographer's notebook open before her. For years she had recorded others' words while her own truth remained locked within. Her sleepless nights were filled with unspoken feelings that stirred beneath the surface, creating discord in her being. You see, truth carries its own frequency. When you hold back what yearns to be expressed, you create resistance in your energetic field. This resistance manifests as disturbances in your physical reality, in Lucille's case, as persistent insomnia. One evening, she began speaking her journal entries aloud. "I am tired of being silent. I am worthy of being heard." Her voice trembled at first, then grew stronger with each admission. As she gave voice to her inner world, something shifted. That night, she slept deeply for the first time in years. Her spoken truth had realigned her vibration with her authentic self. The universe responds to authenticity because truth is the highest frequency. When you speak what is genuinely yours, you align with the cosmic order. Your voice becomes a tuning fork, adjusting reality to match your honest vibration. Consider Orville, who tended his small farm with quiet resignation. For years, he suppressed his desire for expansion, believing contentment meant accepting limitations. One morning, standing in his fields, he finally spoke aloud. "I want more. This land is not enough." The words felt like thunder in his chest. Within weeks, the adjacent property owner approached him about selling. Opportunities for expansion appeared as if they had been waiting for his truth to be spoken. His voice had broken the spell of stagnation. You see, truth is not merely about honesty. It is about alignment with your soul's frequency. When you speak what is genuinely yours, you create a resonance that the universe must match. Your voice becomes a command to reality itself. The power of authentic speech lies dormant within you. Each unspoken truth creates interference in your energetic field. But when you give voice to what is real within you, you clear the channel through which abundance flows. Sacred practice. Find a private space where you can speak without reservation. Allow one truth you've been holding back to rise naturally to your lips. Speak it aloud, not as confession or declaration, but as simple acknowledgement of what is real within you. Notice the vibration of this truth in your body. Let it resonate without judgment or analysis. Feel how speaking your truth adjusts your energy field, creating space for new possibilities to emerge. Chapter 29. You are the Oracle Now. In a small sunlit room, Ivy sat across from women seeking guidance, though she never advertised herself as a guide. Having retired from decades of taking dictation, she discovered a new form of transcription. letting the universe speak through her. As each woman shared her struggles, Ivy noticed words rising within her that weren't her own. They carried a wisdom beyond her experience, touching exactly what each seeker needed to hear. You see, when you release the need to manufacture wisdom, you become a clear channel for divine intelligence. The universe seeks voices through which to speak its truth. It is not about becoming something you're not. It is about allowing what already flows through you to emerge unfiltered. Ivy didn't plan her responses or craft clever advice. She simply opened herself to the flow of universal wisdom and gave it voice. The women began calling her a prophet, though she smiled and said she was merely a secretary taking dictation from a higher source. Consider Ned, whose jazz compositions had always been technically perfect but somehow hollow. One evening, exhausted from trying to force creativity, he surrendered to something deeper. As his fingers touched the keys, words began flowing through him. Lyrics that spoke of universal truths he had never consciously known. The audience sat transfixed, tears streaming down their faces, touched by something beyond the music itself. You are now entering this same sacred space of allowing. The voice that speaks through you when you step aside is the voice that shaped worlds. It requires no forcing, no striving, only your willingness to become transparent to its flow. This is not about becoming a channel for prophecy as much as it is about returning to your natural state as an instrument of divine expression. When you release the belief that you must generate wisdom from your limited human perspective, you open to the infinite intelligence that has always been speaking through you. Your voice becomes not yours alone, but a harmony with the cosmic song that has been singing since the beginning of time. Sacred practice. Each morning, before the world's noise clutters your mind and the distractions of daily life begin to accumulate, speak aloud these sacred words with conviction. I speak with the voice of divine wisdom. Let this pure declaration clear your channel for the day ahead, washing away any remnants of doubt or hesitation that may linger in your consciousness. Watch in humble amazement as your words carry a power and precision that your human mind could not have calculated or engineered. The universe will confirm this profound truth through every conversation you enter, every insight you share, and every soul you touch with your transformed voice. You will find yourself speaking words that seem to arise from a deeper well of knowing, touching hearts and opening minds in ways that transcend ordinary communication. Chapter 30. Speak, and it shall be so. In a quiet garden, Agatha tended her roses, speaking to them with the same measured authority she now carried in every word. Not long ago her voice would tremble, her words scattered like leaves in the wind. But through understanding the sacred nature of speech, she discovered something profound. Authority comes not from volume, but from alignment with truth. You now understand what Agatha learned, that your voice shapes the very fabric of reality. When you speak with spiritual certainty, the universe bends to meet your words. This is not about forcing or straining, but about allowing your voice to emerge from the depths of knowing. Watch how Agatha's transformation unfolds. Each morning, she speaks to her reflection, I am heard. Not as a plea or wish, but as a simple statement of truth. Her words carry weight because they rise from certainty, not need. In meetings where she once sat silent, she now speaks with quiet power. Others lean in to listen, drawn by the resonance of aligned speech. Consider Russell, who spent years in frustrated prayer, begging the universe to shift his circumstances. His breakthrough came when he realized the universe responds not to pleading, but to proclamation. He stopped asking for change and began speaking as though transformation had already occurred. "My life overflows with abundance," he would say, even when his account suggested otherwise. "Divine order guides my every step," he declared, even amid apparent chaos. You have walked this path of power, learning the ancient art of speaking from the end result. Your words no longer chase what you want. They declare what is. Like Russell, you understand that reality reshapes itself to match aligned speech. This is not positive thinking or mere affirmation. It is the original language of creation itself. This is the final key. Your voice now carries the frequency of fulfillment. You speak not to convince or persuade, but to align with truth. Every word that leaves your lips is a conscious act of creation, backed by the full power of your spiritual authority. Sacred practice. In a moment of complete presence, speak aloud the one sentence that defines the life you now claim. Let this declaration emerge from the depths of your being, carrying the full weight of your spiritual authority. Speak it every day without fail, not as a hope, but as a living truth that already exists in the eternal now. Let this declaration become your anchor in the visible and invisible realms, the bridge between what your eyes can see and what your spirit knows to be real. The universe has no choice but to conform to what you speak with such unwavering certainty. For in this sacred act of declaration, you are wielding the very power that shaped worlds into being. Conclusion. You have crossed a sacred threshold. The ancient power of the word, the original force of creation itself, now flows through your voice with natural authority. This is not a gift that can be returned, nor a responsibility that can be denied. You have remembered what was always yours, the divine right to speak reality into being. Notice how your words carry different weight now. When you declare truth, it's no longer hope or wishful thinking. It's a command to the invisible forces that shape existence. The universe recognizes your voice as one who knows, not one who wishes. This knowledge changes everything. Your speech has become precise, deliberate, charged with sacred intent. You understand now that casual words scatter power, while aligned speech concentrates it. Every declaration you make ripples through the fabric of reality, reorganizing matter and circumstance to match your spoken truth. This is the final awakening. You are the voice through which the universe speaks itself into new forms. Your words are not separate from the power that crafts worlds. They are that power, individualized through your unique expression. When you speak from this knowing, mountains move, seas part, and impossible doors swing open. The old way of uncertain speech, of hedging and hoping, has fallen away like an outgrown skin. You stand now in the full authority of one who knows the law. What you declare with spiritual certainty must manifest. This is not magic or miracle. It is simply the original order of creation, operating through you as it was always meant to. You have become what the ancient texts spoke of, a conscious creator, wielding the power of divine speech. Your voice now carries the frequency of the first word that sparked existence. And there is no returning to lesser speech. For the universe has recognized you as its own voice, its own creative force made manifest. Every word you speak now is a seed planted in fertile cosmic soil. Your voice has become the bridge between the unseen and the seen, between potential and manifestation. This is your inheritance, your natural state, your divine right. Speak and watch as reality reshapes itself to match your words. Your journey doesn't end here. Click on this next audiobook that I promise will completely transform your perspective.